Welcome back to Bet Haven, the safe place for safe plays. The new safe place for safe plays. If you can't tell, we are on set at a different location than we have been in the past.
In the
New
stew.
new vibes, good vibes.
Mm-hmm. I'm loving it. My
I
chair is way more comfortable right out the gate.
Chandler's been sitting in a bar stool on a metal bar stool with no back for the last however many episodes we've been doing this.
Yeah,
Um,
it's been tough on the back for sure.
that's part of the reason you guys didn't see us last week. I've relocated to a new home. And yeah, we're gonna start recording in here, maybe fine tune a couple things, but this is how it will generally look going forward. Um, I don't even what tournament did we last record for? Was that Colonial?
No, it would have been the PGA Championship.
So that's all we've had in between,
Yeah, we had the RBC and then the PGA Championship, right?
and then Colonial, and we didn't do a
Oh,
video for
Colonial.
that.
Yeah.
No, because
Did we do?
I said somebody was gonna miss the cut at the top, and I was right about that. I just was wrong about the person. I said Tony Finau, and it was Max Homa.
Mm-hmm. Okay, yeah,
So
you're right.
I don't, I don't, I mean, it feels like we haven't done this in a while, but obviously it's only been a week.
Yeah, it was a Colonial in between, so we would have. Yeah.
Yeah, whatever. We missed one. Oh, we missed RBC Canadian Open.
Yeah,
That's
we
what it
missed
was.
Canadian. Yeah, for sure.
Yes. Okay. So Canadian Open, obviously, if you saw any of that, you saw.
We just posted. We posted our.
Yeah, we
We posted
posted
our
the board on
picks.
Instagram, which is why I tell you guys, like, if you're not following on the other stuff, because like I've been trying to do once we post the board, like updated thoughts for my picks on Twitter and whatnot. I did that for the PGA Championship. I kind of doubled down on Ludwig prior to the start of that, so that wasn't very good. But some of the other stuff looked all right. So yeah, make sure you're following us there. Also, if you're new to sports betting, make sure you check out the link in the description of this video. You can get access to all the bonus bets and deposit matches across several different sports books. We're several weeks into legal sports betting in North Carolina now, so especially if you're in that area and you haven't really tapped into the market yet, make sure you take advantage of that. Like the video and subscribe to the YouTube channel, and like the podcast on Spotify if that's where you're listening. Not a ton to talk about for RBC Canadian. We saw Robert McIntyre get his first win. I think
Pops on the bag.
that is his first win, right?
Mm,
Pretty sure it is.
maybe. I'm not sure.
First PGA win. I'm almost positive. But yeah, had his dad on the bag, and I saw like he had to get like a work visa to do that, and like it was just kind of a nice little heartwarming story with he's talked about how he's been facing some struggles and missing home.
Yeah, he said he was homesick. So that's part of the reason
Yes,
for Pops coming out.
which is that's cool.
First, I think this is his first like official year doing the full PGA Tour schedule.
Yeah, I mean he doesn't play like if you looked. I remember like looking at his name because I saw a couple people on Twitter. I don't know if I never saw any follow up to whether these guys hit or not, because a lot of them had like parlays with Bobby Mack and Charlie. What's the chick's name from LPGA that's been all over social media because she smokes cigs?
Oh,
Charlie Hull.
Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of people had like um, a parlay for them to win, which it was a pretty nice payout if it cashed, but obviously it did not.
Yeah.
Um, but anyways, the Robert Mack stuff, like he played well enough. It's probably a lot easier when you got guys like Ben Griffin chasing versus some of the more stout players.
Yeah, Ben Griffin was my top 40 pick. And then
That's the only good thing you did last week.
almost got there.
And I've never like seen. I think I picked him on a couple DraftKings recently, but I've never like watched him. His game is interesting to me, but it
He's
works.
yeah, he's normally a really good putter, and then everything else is kind of
His short game is really good.
yeah. He's normally a short game guy putting specifically, but yeah, it was one of those weeks where kind of everything was good enough. I felt that the course fit was really good for him. I felt like it was a putting heavy kind of week, and
So then you would be completely off of him this week, because historically putting is not the thing here.
I guess you'll find out.
All right. Well, that seems like a nice segue to jump right into it. We've got the Memorial at Muirfield Village, Jack Nicklaus course. Victor Hovland won here last year, I think 7 under maybe. Him and Denny Hamlin were going back and forth down the stretch.
Danny
Denny Hamlin. Why is it? Oh, I saw a video. Was it Denny Hamlin got into a fight with somebody on the?
No,
Who was that?
the fight was Ricky Stenhouse and Kyle Busch.
I
As far
saw.
as
I
on
swear I
the
saw a video of.
on the track.
No, it was an old video of Denny Hamlin and Joey Logano.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Anyways, Denny McCarthy. I mean, we are. We might tap into the NASCAR market soon, but yeah. Denny McCarthy, Victor Hovland. I think they went to a playoff. I can't remember if they did or not, but I want to say they did. Victor Hovland, obviously not in the same exact form that he was at this point last year, but this was kind of the tournament that really set him into like a very long streak of like
Yeah,
really good
it
golf.
has been one of those courses where we've seen some kind of
It's like a
one-shot
catapult
winners,
course.
but we have seen some guys that are kind of tinkering on that edge, and then they get that win, and then it almost changes our perception of them. Like, okay, they are now like legit.
So that's kind of a thought process I had when making some of these picks. And I've got a couple like open tickets already on FanDuel. I think BetMGM was running a special, bet $20, get a $10 bonus bet. So I've got a ticket in on that.
I'll have to look into that.
Yeah, there's a couple books running specials like that, I believe. But I think the only thing left to do here is to just jump right into the same format that we always do. Obviously, this is an elevated event, correct?
Elevated event, there is a cut though, top 50 in ties or within 10 shots of the lead. So small cut, maybe 15 to 20 guys will get cut this week.
Yeah, it's the same thing I think we saw at Genesis
Mm-hmm.
and
Heritage.
So there's elevated events, but some of them are formatted a bit differently when it comes to the cut. And this is the last. Is this the last elevated event? I think it is.
Probably.
So yeah, you're gonna see a smaller cut. You're gonna see probably pretty tough conditions. They did a renovation of this course back in 20 or after the 2020 tournament, I believe, because they doubled up that year. They did the workday, and then immediately after they did the Memorial.
Yep.
And it played a lot easier during the workday, a lot harder during the Memorial because Jack is, he's one of those guys that he doesn't want to see easy course conditions.
This is Jack's tourney, and he definitely wants to see guys struggle. He wants it to be hard, and you know what? I do too. So I love it. This course plays long, over 7,500 yards, par 72, bent grass greens. This should be harder than the PGA Championship.
Well, you're gonna see some crossover because Valhalla is long, bent grass. Like this should play how Valhalla should have played.
Yeah,
in my opinion.
I hope it does.
So you might see maybe some similar success as we look at the leaderboard on Sunday, but let's just jump right into it. Again, same format for these elevated events. We switch the top 40 pick to a long shot, just because the top 40 market is much more saturated and less payout.
Yeah.
So we're gonna let Chandler kick it off in the new stew. Let's see if we can get some really good vibes going. I got a good feeling about this week, and we're gonna start with first round leader. Chandler, who you got?
All right, so this week, I'm going with a guy who's playing really good golf right now.
We're gonna have the same guy. I can already feel it. We have no idea who each other has,
we
but
don't know any of each other's picks.
I can feel it right now.
I'm going with Xander Schauffele.
Damn it!
Is it the same guy?
No.
Okay. Xander Schauffele, first round leader, plus 1,800 on DraftKings. Not a massive number, but a guy that is playing some really good golf, and it's kind of some sneakily good golf. Like we mentioned, this has kind of been a breakout where we almost change our perception of guys after they win here. Can you imagine if Xander Schauffele won this tournament after just winning the PGA Championship? The sentiment on him, or whatever was on, that he can't win, he can't get it done, he can't close. Now all of a sudden he potentially can go 2 in a row for him because he didn't play in the last one.
Oh yeah, he didn't play RBC.
So yeah, Xander Schauffele, he is number 2 in his last 24 rounds on strokes gained tee to green, and number 2 on approach, behind Scotty Scheffler, of course. He is playing really good golf. I love his price compared to what I think he is right now. I think that if Scotty Scheffler had figured out his putter this year, that we would be oohing and eyeing over how good Xander Schauffele has been this
Y-
year.
Yeah, I mean,
Um,
he won the PGA Championship, obviously. Second at Wells Fargo before that. Like he's been
yes.
in the mix so many different times.
Yeah, his track record here is also amazing. 14th, 13th, 11th, 18th, 24th. And then his last five tournaments, 8th, 18th, 23rd, 2nd, 1st. He's also a guy that can get high with the putter. Last 24 rounds, he is gaining 3/4 of a stroke, which is this is putting, and that would be 7th in this field. So not only is he striking it, he is putting. Give me Xander Schauffele, first round leader.
What'd you say it was? 18-1
Yep.
for first round leader? Really?
Yep.
That's kind of low. What's his odds to win? 9?
Yeah, 9.
Okay. Yeah, that makes a little bit more sense. Yeah, I don't hate that. We've seen Xander come out the gates hot, but we've also seen him come out a little cold. I don't know about recently, but I think he did kind of flip a switch, like where he was starting slow and finishing strong. He did that at Valspar, where he basically, I think he shot like 8 under at Valspar on the final day, and
He's
like almost
definitely
put himself into
he's
contention.
definitely been known to have like hot and cold rounds where like he has a spike round, then he has a letdown round, then a spike round. He used to be the guy, and I guess we'll see if he still is that guy that like on Sunday when he's in 40th, he'll shoot like 7 under and
That's what he did at
12th.
Valspar. He finished T5 at
Yeah,
Valspar, and he was like nowhere near the top.
he's done that plenty of times. But I'm hoping for the other way around this time. Maybe get a good first round, and then I don't want to say I hope he falls off because I'll probably have him on DraftKings, but
I,
we'll
I
see.
I'm not playing any. I've already got a couple DraftKings teams, and I'm avoiding everybody at the top so far. It's not a great strategy. I don't recommend it to
Bold
anybody,
strategy, Cotton.
but I'm going with a pretty balanced build on DK. But we'll see how that pays out. So my first round leader is going to be Corey Connors.
Okay.
Same similar note to what you're saying is, he's playing extremely good golf. The approach stuff for me is off the charts. And he typically struggles, with the putter. I think that's kind of his bugaboo for the most part. But he's kind of, I think that maybe the last 2 rounds he's been gaining. I don't have all the stats in front of me, but
Corey Connors' last 24 rounds, he's been a neutral putter, exactly 0, and he is gaining 1.22 on approach, which puts him number 2 on approach in this field in his last 24 rounds.
love that. I mean, if he can just kind of stick them and hit them, that's what I'm looking for here. So, and I don't think that this isn't going to be a birdie fest, so it's going to be kind of a survive, at least to start. And I think we haven't touched on weather or anything like that. I think there is chances of rain, if I'm not mistaken. Regardless, they do have like a sub air system here now that should, help maintain course conditions and keep them pretty firm.
Yes.
So regardless of what the weather does, I think you're going to see, firm and fast and tough conditions. And Corey's kind of held his own over the last several tournaments in those types of conditions. So I'm kind of hoping for like a 3 under, 4 under, if that first round leader. And I think he can absolutely get there.
Yeah, he's playing great golf right now.
45-1, by the way.
45-1. Okay.
I've got him. I've got a ticket on him at 45-1. I believe that's on Bet365. I think it was 40-1 in some other places. And I also have him on BetMGM. That was the $20 bet that I placed to get the $10 bonus bet for top 5 after round 1. So a little bit less payout there, but it's like 20 to win 150 or something like that. So we'll see how it goes. All right. Favorite play. This is gonna get interesting.
Yeah, my favorite play, I'm kind of bummed about it, but it's inevitable. It's Scotty Scheffler.
Oh man.
And I'm not going to bet him at plus 360, what he is to win this golf tournament.
Yep.
But this course, not only is he proven over and over and over again that he is dominant right now, but this course just absolutely falls into his lap as far as what it's going to require. It's going to require great approach and great tee to green. The putting is not as much of a factor. It can be to an extent. Obviously, this is golf. You're going to want to have a hot putter if you can, but it really doesn't matter that much.
It's more neutral. Like good putters are less important here
Yeah, and
than
it's
the
that's been
rest.
proven over and over again. Obviously, we have some great data on this course because it continually gets played here, and tee to green and approach has been really key. And more importantly, approach from 150 to 175 has been key. Scotty Scheffler, you guessed it, number one in strokes gained on approach from 150 to 175, both on proximity percentage and birdie or better percentage. Um, he loves that distance. Obviously, I don't know if he's leading in like all those categories, all those distance categories, because he very well could be. But
He's actually not.
okay,
But you're saying 150 to 175 is
150
his.
to
Yeah.
175 is going to be a key number, and he dominates from that number.
Yeah.
He also is number one in strokes tee to green or strokes gained tee to green in 2024. That's
And off the tee,
shocker.
isn't he? Like isn't he like number one?
Off the tee,
Yeah.
last 24 rounds, he is number one as well. So he's just that guy. So Scotty Scheffler, I'm gonna end up playing him on DraftKings. Very expensive this week, obviously.
13, 12. What is he?
12.5. That puts you. So if you pick Scotty Scheffler this week on DraftKings, which I'm gonna do plenty of, that puts you at 7,500 for your final five. It gives you a little bit of wiggle room, but not a lot. It's gonna end up giving me a lot of. I'm gonna have to dive down in that 6,000 range on a couple of guys.
Yeah.
But
I
I've
think
got,
this.
I've
I think
got a
this.
few coming for you later that could be useful.
So I won't touch on it too much just because you said that. But the scary part is there's some names in that 7K range that's like, okay. I mean, if you go with Scotty and you got to pick some of these guys, like, fine. Like it's not bare and empty down there. It's pretty.
And we're getting potentially 4 rounds out of these guys. Potentially you get 4 rounds. Like I said, cut top 50 in ties, but that means that a large percentage of this field is going to make the cut, and I'm sure that several of those guys will be down there in the bottom of the $6,000 range. There
Right.
will be guys in that range that make this cut. So it's a potential strategy that could work out great.
Well, just based on the scoring aspect too, maybe a strategy is to find some of those guys in that range that are bogey avoidant. That
And I'm seeing projections as far as ownership. We've seen a lot of Scotty being like crazy owned in the 40s and stuff. With Rory playing as well as he is and Xander playing as well as he is, I think that they're actually going to eat up some of that ownership, and guys won't go to the top. So I don't expect to see a 40% owned Scotty Scheffler this week. I would expect to see maybe a 30% owned
Yeah.
Scotty Scheffler, which is still a lot. It probably will be the most highest owned in this field, but it won't be as crazy as it's been.
what could honestly end up happening is Scotty being close to number one, but like one of those guys down at the bottom. If they're playing Scotty, then maybe
You're
like
gonna have to dive. There will be somebody, like I said, 7,500 is where it lands you. There will be guys in that $7,000 range that will be
heavily
higher
owned.
owned than they
Yeah.
probably should be.
Right. Okay. Well, I hate the favorite play for Scotty just as much as you do, but I completely understand it.
Yeah.
My favorite play is going to be Justin Thomas.
Okay.
We've seen Justin kind of have his struggles, particularly earlier in the season.
Yeah.
But he seems to be rounding back into form. I thought about betting him outright. I think the best number I saw on him was 28 to 1. I don't know if he's there yet. I don't know if he's ready to win a tournament like this again.
He played good at PGA.
Yeah, I mean, so you got to take that a little bit with a grain of salt, I guess, simply because we don't know how much of the local factor that had to play into it. The
Definitely
nostalgia.
seemed to be like feeding off of the
Yeah.
crowd and like the momentum that they were giving him.
Right. And I think Justin's one of those guys that, like, when he's playing well, he has like a good fan base. And he appreciates the cheers and whatnot when
He's liked. He's a liked
yeah.
PGA golfer.
I think when he's having his struggles though, like he doesn't get any kind of boost from anybody, which is I think it just expounds his struggles.
Yeah.
But the couple finishes that we've seen, and if you've got it in front of you, feel free to rattle them off. I've looked at them, time and time again. Obviously the PGA, And I mentioned that there's potential crossover from that type of course and the style of course and the way it played. Obviously, we're going to see less scoring, but just the layout in general, and the good finish there. So, 30-1, I think I saw was maybe his first round leader. I thought about throwing a little first round leader bet on him. I can't remember what the exact number was, but I think I'm probably gonna just have him across the board on DraftKings. I think he's reasonably priced.
Yeah, 9,200 on DraftKings. His last or recent results would be eighth at the PGA, 21st at Wells Fargo, fifth at the Heritage, and miscut at the Masters.
So the difference between what RBC is and what the PGA Championship is, and what was the other tournament you had in there?
The Heritage, PGA, Wells Fargo,
Wells
Masters.
Fargo. Like those are different. Those are all so different. And like him having pretty solid finishes in all three of them tells me that his game is closer. Like if he would have had, a miscut at um PGA or Wells Fargo, longer, more difficult courses, and finished high at RBC, only a shorter course, I would have been like, okay, maybe the shorter stuff's for him right now. But the more balanced finishes across different styles of courses tells me that he's probably in a better spot. So I'm just kind of hoping he can stick it all together and do something on, like I said, I'll have him across the board on DraftKings. I don't know what I'll do from a betting standpoint, but we'll cross that bridge when I get to it.
It's going to be putting for him. If he can just neutral putt or gain a little bit, he's actually seventh in this field in his last 24 rounds, strokes gained tee to green.
And if we're saying that the putting's sort of a neutralized stat here, then
that could be something. Absolutely. Yeah. He's in approach. I think he's around 12th in this field in the last 24 rounds. So yeah, it's really the putting with him, especially recently. But we're seeing some better results. So
all right,
yeah, I could see it.
Yeah, that's my guy. We got top 20 coming up. Let's see what you got cooking for that.
All right, so top 20. I'm going with a guy that's kind of been. I think the sentiment on him right now is that he's struggling, but he really hasn't been that bad, and he's had some success at this course in the past. That is Hideki Matsuyama. Hideki plus 125, top 20 on DraftKings. He is great around the greens right now. He's number one in this field around the greens, gaining almost 3/4 of a shot. His tee to green, he is fourth in this field behind Scotty, Xander, and Rory. Which you probably wouldn't guess that considering his last two results. He hasn't played a lot either. We're dealing with some potential injury stuff
with its back, right?
Yeah, but yeah. I don't know. We've had,
but he's only the last two tournaments he's played are majors, right?
Yeah, he's played his last two. Well, he's played. We'll count the last three. Valero, he finished 7th. Masters 38th, and then the PGA 35th.
So he skipped RBC Heritage.
He skipped Heritage,
which is an elevated event.
Zurich, Byron, Wells Fargo. What's the one? Colonial, and Canada. So this dude has not been playing really.
Yeah, no, he's
9,000 on DraftKings. Like I said, plus 125, top 20. 16th last year in this tournament. But the thing that jumped out at me was the tee to green. I mean, the fact that he is fourth in this field in the last 24 rounds, tee to green, given that the sentiment on him is he's not been so good, and I don't think that he's going to be that highly owned.
Right.
The top three guys in this field in golf right now are Scotty, Xander, Rory. That's pretty clear. But then fourth sitting there is Hideki. So yeah, I will take Hideki. I will take him on DraftKings if I can, but it might not have to be with Scotty. It might be a different build. Maybe a Xander.
What's his price on DraftKings?
He's 9,000. So to get the Scotty and Hideki,
it'd be pretty tough.
I don't know where that leaves you, but it would be very difficult.
Well, then he's probably one of those guys that you can do a more balanced build, or if you're fading Scotty, just throw Hideki in there.
I might try him with a Xander lineup, because I will have Xander. Obviously, I like Xander for first round, which means I think that he's going to play well in general. So I might do a Xander Hideki build.
Yeah. Okay. Well, when I looked earlier trying to pick a top 20, this person was plus 100. for top 20. And then I looked about 30 minutes ago or right before you showed up,
Hmm.
and he's now minus 110. So I don't want to give out a minus pick for that person was Tommy Fleetwood, by the way. I don't want to give out a minus odds pick, so I'm going to go with Tony Finau, top 20. He is plus 150 on DK, maybe. I think I did see a plus 165 somewhere. That's to me, Tony is he's close. The things that he's been kind of I saw somebody, it might have been Smiley Kaufman came out with like an article of why Tony Finau is struggling lately, and like the only thing the article said was like he's had some bad Sunday rounds. And to me, I'm just like, okay, that doesn't give you any sort of like statistical or analytical viewpoint. It's just like, he's had some bad Sundays. It's like, all right, whatever. And that's not even entirely true. He's fired off like a 66 and a 65, not so long ago in this season. But I said Finau was going to miss the cut at Byron Nelson, which it was only my hope that he did that because I wanted his odds to be boosted for the U.S. Open. I currently have an outright ticket on Tony Finau to win the U.S. Open. And what's funny is I think I mentioned like during the show he was 40-1. Well, I looked after we recorded and he had gone up to 55-1 before that tournament started. During the tournament, he played very well. I think he was almost first round leader. He went back down to 40 something, and I was like, damn, I missed the train there. And then after some time had settled, I'm sure nobody was betting him at the lower number. He's back up to 55. So I've got a 55-1 ticket on Tony Finau for Pinehurst. But I think this is kind of, I looked, he doesn't have a ton of history here. Or maybe recent history.
No, he has not
2021 was the last year he played it.
He has not played here in the last 2 years.
So I can't figure out why that is. But to me, he knows where his game is at, and he knows what he needs to kind of get it to contend in these majors. That's what he's really looking for. I think I don't know what he's going to do this week. I think a top 20 is absolutely not out of the question. And again, you're kind of focusing on these guys that have struggled with the putter, but their tee to green game is, extremely stout, and that is exactly what he is right now.
Yeah, so his numbers are very similar to Justin Thomas. If you like Justin Thomas, then it makes sense to also like Tony Finau. Also losing almost half a shot on the greens, just like Justin Thomas in the last 24 rounds. The approach, gaining 3/4 of a shot on approach. Tee to green, he's just behind Justin Thomas. I think he's 8th or 9th in this field. The not playing. Here's I'm gonna play devil's advocate for you. The not playing in the last two kind of concerns me because he does pick and choose his spots. Think about this guy playing. Doesn't he play like the Mexico Open or something?
Well, didn't he win? Didn't he win the Mexico Open?
Yeah, and then he played it again, I think, this year. Like, he picks and chooses his spots, and the fact that he hasn't chose to play here in the last couple, kind of interesting. And then another reason that I would maybe not go to him again, we'll see. He's gonna probably be popular on DraftKings.
He's only 7,900. That's the problem.
He is 7,900 on DraftKings, and like I said, if you start with Scotty, you end up at 7,500 for your average.
So that was one of the people that I was thinking of initially when you brought up the price point for if you choose Scotty. I'm like, okay, you dip a little bit below 7,500, all of a sudden you got 7,900 on the board, and he's right there. If I go with
my typical DraftKings strategy, it would make a lot of sense for me not to pick Tony Finau this week, knowing that he's going to be probably the highest owned guy in the $7,000 range.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that.
But if you're playing him top 20 outright or whatever, that
I do hate, and there's nothing to support this, but I hate picking guys for top 20 that are heavily owned on DraftKings. I don't know why. I feel like it affects their ability to finish within the top 20 when they're heavily owned on DraftKings, but it's just like this weird stigma in my brain that's like, okay, if they're that popular on DraftKings, they're way more likely to miss the cut than to finish top 20.
I think the only thing I could say to that is that potentially their number could be bet down. So if people are picking them on DraftKings, they might also be betting them
True.
top 20. So their number could adjust throughout the week. If they start at 150, it could be plus 100 by the time it goes off.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just trying to focus on the actual um, things that we've already discussed, which is a tee to green game that is strong and putting is sort of neutralized here. And if he's struggling with the putter and everything else is good, then maybe he can figure something out. We also haven't really seen Tony catapult himself into that next tier of golfer. I mentioned it to you earlier that like I did kind of think about that as a strategic standpoint. Like, who is that golfer that hasn't really been, put into that next level? We have seen Tony. I think he won back to back. I want to say he won Rocket Mortgage and maybe another tournament back to back,
It
or
was either two. It might have been three in a row.
no, he finished like second or third
Okay.
in the third one, but
Yeah,
he won
did
back
get
to
hot
back.
there for a little bit.
And maybe this is the start of that. If he wins this week, and then I already feel like he's gonna win the U.S. Open, like maybe we just see sort of like a run that we saw with Victor, where once he won this tournament, he just went kind of bananas and did a whole, just a whole bunch of different stuff. Obviously, there's, this is a stretch here, just based on his current ability to, win, or what he's proven to do that so far this season. But I don't know. I feel like he's so close, and I feel like he's way too good to have the amount of wins that he does.
I want to
So
go on record saying that I wish that you would have picked Fleetwood instead of Finau. Now that could be totally
I mean,
wrong.
Fleetwood's
We
still
can-
out
we can
there.
Talk about it next week, me
Yeah.
being wrong, but I think Fleetwood has a better
Well, the
chance here.
board
And
says
he
that.
fits,
Yeah.
he fits the breakout performer.
Have you looked? But that's the other reason I liked him too. Is like, the only reason I'm changing it is because he went to -110. But look at his record here.
Well, you can't pick two guys, so you got to pick one. And you
Oh, I
already-
know.
you already made your bet.
I'm going with Finau. I'm going with Tommy. Maybe I'll post Tommy, but I'll really have Finau.
No. You just went on about 10 minutes about Tony Finau, so no, you're locked into that one.
Can I go back?
I'm going on record though that I like Fleetwood more than Finau.
And I do too. That's why he was
And
first. This is an audible.
Listen, their pricing on DraftKings would also say that they're very different players right now, but we'll see.
Yeah, what's Tommy? 9,100 and
Yeah, and Tony's 79.
yeah.
So I mean, as far as like
Maybe
moving
I'll
on,
double up. Maybe I'll do a Tony Tommy top 20. That's a mouthful. Speaking of mouthfuls,
Tommy top 20.
Tony Tommy top 20.
Okay,
Just parlay it.
probably a decent number.
Plus 300, plus 325.
Probably 3.
All right. Long enough spin on that. You got to really learn to shorten it up.
There's
Okay.
you get going. I give it short, sweet TikTok version, and you go on and on about their mother's maiden name, and then just like how many kids they have. Like, I don't know, dude. Tony Finau top 20.
Tony Finau has a lot of kids. He's got mouths to feed. This motherfucker needs to win.
Yeah.
That's what it is. All right. Let's go to long shot. Again, we do long shot when it's an elevated event instead of top 40 because the market sucks. But long shot, let's see who you got. I can't wait to hear this. Also, a long shot is completely objective
Yeah,
when
and
it
I'm
comes to
gonna give my-
odds.
I'm
But
gonna give my reasoning and like everything. So for me, this is more. It's a long shot play, but it's more of a DraftKings long shot play as a lineup guy. I've told you that I'm gonna probably have a lot of Scotty Scheffler, meaning I'm gonna have to have somebody down there in the $6,000 range. That guy for me this
6,000.
week is Seamus Power.
Wow.
6,300 on DraftKings.
It's the approach stuff.
He is plus 20,000 to win, $10 to win $2,000. I don't necessarily think he's going to win this golf tournament, but I think that he's a great play at the bottom. He missed the cut at the Canadian, but if you go in the stats, he was third best on approach.
Yeah, his
of the
putting's been
guys
shit.
who missed the cut. So of the guys who missed the cut and only got 2 rounds in, Seamus Power was third best on approach. Approach isn't even really necessarily his game, but he's been trending. His irons have been trending in the last little bit. Last 24 rounds, he's in the top 20 in this field iron play, which you wouldn't necessarily think. But even more than that, this is my sneaky insider information about Seamus Power this week. The
It's in
U.S.
Dublin,
Open,
Ohio.
no, the U.S. Open qualifiers happened.
Oh, I saw that. He shot like 7 under.
He won his qualifier,
Yeah.
and Seamus Power is qualified now for the U.S. Open.
Yeah.
He shot a great. I think he was like 10 under or something in 2 rounds. So yeah, he is obviously playing very good, and I think he's a great play. He's minus 120 top 40, which almost feels like a layup to me. If I had a ton of money, I would just throw a ton of money at that. But I think I'm gonna end up having a lot of him on DraftKings, and as long as he makes the cut and Scotty dominates like I think, then we'll
So,
make a ton of money.
so you're going with my Mac Meisner strategy.
Yeah, but this guy actually, we've heard of him.
Well, I mean, Mac finished like top 10 in that tournament. So,
Yeah, no,
anyways, he didn't do it in the first round. He waited until
yeah,
after the fact. But
he blew it.
my long shot to win is not nearly as high as 200 to 1, but he's still up there. Um, it's Tom Hoagie.
Okay.
Tom Hoagie's approach play has been pretty solid.
I'll tell you what, you are all over approach no putt this week.
Yeah, and that's what I'm going for because that's like I feel like when you start to get too scattered, it kind of muddies the water a little
I have no
bit.
problem with it, especially if you build your lineups this way. There's
Yeah, and that's
definitely
exactly what I've
there's
done.
definitely something to building lineups that kind of fit a guy's narrative, like
Right.
his game. So if you pick all these guys that you've mentioned, put them on a lineup, well then, hey, if that could be the strategy. It could
Yeah,
go well.
and that's what I've got. I think the only person I don't have on a DraftKings lineup that I've mentioned is Connors, but that's because I'm expecting the top or the first round, and then maybe some tail off, but whatever. Yeah, no, Hoagie has shown us that he can do it in different places, and I think he's due for a win. He won at Pebble Beach back in 22, I want to say. A little, obviously that's a shorter course. So we're gonna see what the next win for him looks like if he wins again, if he can do it on a different style, because he's very like fairway green, like that's just what he is. And then he kind of like you mentioned it that he's not a great putter, but
He's Connors.
yeah.
They're very similar. Hoagie is Connors. They're the same guy.
But I think he's reached a new level of like he's not necessarily contending, but he's competing week in and week out at this point where, he's got some way better finishes and seems way more consistent than he has in the past. You're seeing his name a lot more than you typically have. Same thing with Seamus Power, honestly. Like Seamus Power this season, at RBC, you're like, didn't he finish like really high up at Heritage? I remember seeing him a lot.
He was 12th at Heritage, and he was 16th at Wells Fargo.
Yeah. So I mean,
Also, just to jump back to that real quick, he is 8th in the last 24 rounds on approach.
Seamus is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I knew his approach has been really good.
Off the top of your head, you would not think that.
And he's sucked with like he is bleeding with the putter, is he not?
A little bit, quarter of a shot per round.
Yeah, that's not great.
No, but it's JT is double that. So
damn it, JT.
It's not him and Finau are double that, so I guess it's not that bad.
So you're telling me I'm gonna lose a combined 10 strokes putting this week just on my one team.
Yeah, they're gonna struggle. No, you never know. I mean,
Yeah.
it's such a weird stat, and this could be the tournament that it doesn't matter as much. Where last week it did.
Yeah, well, Hoagie, we've only seen him win once. Like I said, it's a long shot pick because it's not very likely. But he's 80 to 1 to win. I think that's a pretty fair number. So we'll see how that goes.
7,400 on DraftKings.
He might also like be one of those guys that's owned too for the Scotty teams.
I guess we'll see. The one thing that might keep his ownership down is course history is not good here.
Yeah, no, it's pretty terrible. But
Yeah.
I want to say Brian Harman. I did this earlier this season. I want to say Brian Harman had almost an identical course history. Maybe at the Players. It was somewhere and he finished really, 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 really high. Like it was like so many missed cuts and maybe a 60th, and then all of a sudden he finished like top five. I think it was a players, but
Yeah, I'm not a big course history guy. I know that like like
it's
DJ is a
there's like
course.
sticky course history. There's like courses that obviously like you can have repeated success, but sometimes it's just like it's form. Like if a guy's in form
Yeah,
and
that's what I'm about. I'm
yeah.
about form and course fit for the guy,
Yeah.
and the history. It doesn't really matter as much to me.
All right. Let's kind of touch on a couple guys that we're not talking about. Um,
Let me give you a stat real quick. So I mentioned the U.S. Open qualifiers of this week. I'm gonna give you the deep dive of the guys who qualified for the U.S. Open.
not
Obviously,
Adam Scott.
played really well, and not Adam Scott, unfortunately. Um, so the guys that are playing really well that qualified for the U.S. Open that are also playing in this tournament. That would be Seamus Power, who I mentioned, won his qualifier. Another guy that won his qualifier that is in this field is Matt Kuchar. Matt Kuchar played really well, won his qualifier, but I think it was over 3 or 4 shots. He won his qualifier
Can
by.
you get the course scorecard and see how long it was? I think that's the only thing that'll do him in here.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if it was a long course, short course, or what. But just the fact that Matt Kuchar, I mean, a lot of guys are going to look at Matt Kuchar down there at the bottom and go, no, this old man is washed. There's no way.
He's not washed.
But I think he was like 15 under or something in 2 rounds. Like, dude went off.
Wow.
Other guys that qualified for the U.S. Open was Svensson in Canada. He played really well. Davis Thompson qualified for the U.S. Open. Brendan Todd qualified for the U.S.
Are
Open.
they in this field?
Yeah.
Svensson and Davis Thompson are in this field?
Yep.
Wow.
And
They must be at the very bottom. I didn't go all the way down there.
Cameron Davis,
I can understand
who
that.
beat out Adam Scott.
Yeah, with a just
That brings
Adam Scott chips in.
Adam Scott chips in.
Cam
Cameron
Davis makes like a
cans on top
like a
of him.
15 footer,
Yeah, about
maybe.
15 feet.
Yeah,
Yeah, this
but
would
that
be,
forced the playoff, did it not? Or was that for?
no,
Was
I
that
think
it?
that was in the playoff
Yeah.
to try again, like play the hole again. But yeah, that breaks Adam Scott's streak of majors. Last time he missed a major was the U.S. Open in 2001.
Dang, that's got to
How
be.
old were you in 2001?
I don't know. I was in fourth grade. It's when 9/11 happened. I remember being in the classroom.
Jesus, dude.
what? Why is that like? That's like a pivotal moment in my childhood. You said 2001.
Okay. Well, anyways, that's the last time Adam Scott missed a major. Seems like forever, man. We're getting old. Adam Scott missing majors now.
It's actually kind of
Basically,
crazy.
basically our entire life of like watching golf, Adam Scott has been.
Well, we're
missing
seeing a
major.
couple guys like Webb and
Webb qualified as well.
what the fuck?
Webb qualified in at Duke. They had a qualifier at Duke, and Webb qualified.
The course that we played, or
Duke, yeah, in Durham.
the course sucks.
Yeah.
Wow, that's interesting. But yeah, we are seeing a couple guys that like we're typically used to seeing up there, and they're not there anymore.
Mm-hmm.
It's a little sad, but whatever. There's new faces, fresh faces, and yeah. But I want to touch on a couple guys that we just haven't mentioned that
Okay.
we should at least talk about a little bit. Rory, what are you doing with Rory?
I've been off Rory, and obviously I've been getting burned by it because he's been balling.
Yeah, he's my favorite play last week. Finished T4.
Yeah, this whole divorce thing clearly not jacking him up like I thought it might.
Yep.
If anything, maybe it's helping,
Yeah.
which was not my thoughts. But I think I'm not going to get there just based on the fact that I like Scotty and Xander more, and that really has nothing to do with him. It's just I think Scotty and Xander are better right now, and I think the course fits them better. So it's really nothing against him. I have no problem with anybody playing him, but for me, I'm just not getting there.
Well, you liked Victor at the PGA Championship. You have to like him here. So, you got any Victor?
Yeah, the only thing I don't like about Victor is I think people are jumping on now, and he's 10,200 on DraftKings.
Yeah.
So we saw one good tournament out of Victor from what was, people were saying he was in shambles. We got one good tournament that he didn't even win, and now he's up to 10,200 on DraftKings.
It doesn't take much for guys like him though. Like when
It's
they
too
fall
much.
off and then they come back, it's like the books, DraftKings, like everything fantasy wise, it's like they immediately are just like, oh, he's back.
Yeah, he's too much for me. Yeah, he's too much. The only thing I guess you could say is that his ownership will probably be low because the three guys in front of him, well, that'll be a starting point for a lot of people's lineups.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I don't think I'm gonna get there.
Reports that Ludwig is still in a knee brace. You got any interest in that?
I am not going to this guy until he shows that he's okay.
Yeah.
Still in a knee brace concerns me. Obviously, at the PGA, he looked off.
Yeah, it didn't look right.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen him play in person. I've seen him play a lot. I'm a big fan. I think he's an amazing golfer, but he just didn't look quite himself. And until I see that he is back to himself, I can't get there.
I saw people talking about Max Homa and how this is like his type of course. The only thing that I saw Max Homa, he had these big, big right misses at. Was
Yeah,
that Byron Nelson? Is that where Colonial is? Because we just need to lock that in. Is that where that? It has to be, right? Yeah, it has to be.
no, the Byron's before that. Byron was before Wells Fargo.
So which one is Colonial?
Colonial is the course Colonial?
The course is Colonial, but what's the
I
tournament?
don't know.
Okay, I got an idea. The Charles Schwab Challenge.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Gosh, I hate this. Yeah, no, I saw him a couple times, and it was just humongous slice, like straight up slices, not
Yeah,
fades,
he was in
big
shambles.
slices off the tee with the driver. Now we've seen him play. We saw him play at the Masters, and he was able to. He pulled out that 3-wood a lot at the Masters. If he
I don't think you're gonna be able to do that here.
you can do it sometimes. There's like spots here, and he's a decent approach player from distance, but I don't like it at all.
I can't do it. Max Homa used to be a like off the tee guy.
Yeah.
He is fourth to last in this field in the last 24 rounds driving accuracy.
Yeah, no, that's not good.
That is a problem.
And if you miss these fairways are wide at Muirfield, but
But like we said, I think Jack's gonna make it tough. So I think that the rough
the
is gonna
rough,
be up
yeah.
and missing is gonna be a problem.
You gonna go back to Thigala after he was horrible last week?
No, Thigala is also in shambles. I'm pretty sure.
His around the green game
I
and his
saw
putting
him
is
miss some putts that
yeah.
he never misses.
Yep.
Um, so that's kind of concerning. So yeah, I'm not going there.
Wyndham's here at 8,900 on DraftKings. Don't like that.
I'm never a Wyndham guy,
Yeah.
so I wouldn't. I'm not starting now.
I think that's. Oh, I want to talk about this just real quick. Keegan Bradley off the tee the last two tournaments.
Yep.
Are we looking at his numbers because they're ridiculous?
I can give you his last.
Just look at the last two tournaments.
Okay, let me pull it up.
The dude is absolutely striping it off the tee, and he's like a northwest part or northeast part of the country, plays well.
Yep, he is number one in his last 8 rounds off the tee.
Where did that come from?
Yeah, I don't know. He's just playing better in general. His last three events: 21st, 18th, second. Yeah, he. I'd be shocked if he doesn't get some ownership boost being in that range.
People like Keegan. People like to bet on him. They like
Yes,
to play him.
they like him, and he's shown form. Last two tournaments here, 30th, 37th. That's good enough. Um, but yeah, just playing good golf, especially off the tee, should put himself in a good spot in the fairway quite often, like he's been doing. So yeah, I got no problem with it.
All right, well that's pretty much all I got. Spieth got no love for. Yeah,
This is Jason Day's home golf course.
yeah, but he
Just
hasn't.
just as of note. That's just
Yeah, he lives here, but he doesn't
just you need to be
play
aware.
here. But like, hasn't he just like struggled here historically?
Let's see.
I mean, his form is all right. He's cheap on DraftKings, so if you really wanted to, you could. He's 7,600.
600, yeah.
But he might fall into that same category you talked about earlier. I mean, if you start your squad, Scotty, Day, Zalatoris is 7,500. I mean, like, what are we doing?
That's going to be one of the ways I'm going to build. I guess we'll find out if it's going to work or not. Day concerning approach game would be the problem for him. Putting around the green off the tee is all, fine to good, honestly. Um,
I thought you specifically meant like putting. He's putting around the green
no,
instead
no,
of
no.
chipping. I
Putting
was
and
like,
around the
okay.
green.
Well,
Both,
then let's pick him at Pinehurst.
both
That's what he's
stats
doing.
are great. Yeah, his history here: miscut 31st, fourth miscut, kind of scattered. Last three events: 59th, fourth, 43rd. Um, yeah, he's fine. I don't know. I feel like he actually might not be
It's gonna depend on
as
his
owned
ownership.
as
Yeah.
you're thinking. I think guys are gonna click Straka, Zalatoris, Keegan, Siwoo. These guys around him, I feel like they're gonna be easier clicks for people.
Well, if that, I mean, that's the case, I would absolutely hop on board with Jason Day.
Yeah. I
Just
think it might just be a good alternative, being that he's around guys that are playing well or names that people like.
right. All right. Well, that's all I got. You got anything else? Final thoughts?
No, that's all I got. 4 milli to first, by the way.
Huh? Oh, the purse for the
Yeah.
tournament. I was like, you're on a DraftKings entry.
No, no,
What?
no. No. 4 mil to first. Other notes I had: Ben Griffin tried to qualify for the U.S. Open. He missed the playoff by 2 shots, and Goddard, who is in this tournament, bogeyed 18 to miss a playoff to get in the U.S. Open. So I know that stings a little bit.
He left his clutch gene at home,
Yes.
even though he
so that
won the
hurts.
tournament that he won by 6 shots. So you can't really say.
Yeah, that's gonna hurt. But yeah, that's about all I got.
All right. Well,
Look at approach guys. Look at TD Green guys. That would be my advice.
what's next week?
The U.S. Open, big dog. Boots on the ground.
We are gonna be at the U.S. Open
Boots on the ground.
Thursday.
Be there.
So yeah, we'll have a good video next week in preparation for that. You guys already know who I'm on so far, but yeah, no, it's glad to be back. Well, we shouldn't have any more breaks like we did. The move is done, and I'm feeling refreshed. So let's have a good week. Like I said at the beginning of the video, make sure you check out the link in the description. Take advantage of all the deposit matches, bonus bets, etc. And we appreciate you guys tuning in as always. We'll see you next time.